Welcome to Mamas and Mimosas. I'm Roni.
I'm Janelle.
I'm Marianne.
And today we're interviewing a special guest, Amy. She's a financial coach willing to share some tips and tricks with us to help us get our eggs in order. So when this quarantine is over, we can all be financially prepared for the new normal. So grab your mimosas, pop in those earphones, and let's dive right into episode 21. Cheers!
Cheers.
Oh my god, it's gonna get deep, guys.
A shit show, a pure shit show. It literally takes a village.
I don't know if it was dirty or clean.
Oh my god.
Bad mom.
Like
Bad
a
mom.
mom.
Yes, because I'm shining. Woo! That was good, guys.
Before we start, we want to send you some love for subscribing to our podcast and YouTube. We see you and totally appreciate the love. We cannot believe that we have over 2,000 downloads. That's freaking crazy. Thank you, guys.
Okay, let's cheers to our
Cheers.
Awesome. Welcome. So today we have a very special guest with us. Amy, how are you?
I'm fine. Thank you.
Can you introduce yourself and tell us a little bit about you?
Sure. So my name is Amy Bersamin. I live in Honolulu, Hawaii, and I'm also a mom. I have a 26-year-old son, and I've been married for, 29 years this year.
Wow.
Yeah, 29.
Oh,
My
nice.
my son is actually going to be 27 next month. So,
Okay.
yes.
Girl, you look so
Amazing.
I bet you look like his sister. That's crazy.
All that Hawaii
Yeah,
sun. Huh?
there you go. Right now, it's like the concealer. Yeah. So I also teach financial education at Sweep Strategies in Hawaii. So Sweep Strategies is a financial education company. So what we do is we educate and coach our clients. That way, they can increase their cash flow. And because with increased cash flow, you're able to pay off your debts a lot faster. And then you're able to look at different options for increasing your cash flow even more.
That's awesome.
Right. Can you share a personal story on how your financial education helped you in the very beginning? Like what made you a believer?
Sure. So really how it helped me is that it changed my mindset. So it changed my mindset, and it helped me to see things very differently. From the way we handle our finances to the different strategies of increasing your cash flow. And what made me to be a believer is that it helped me to be more financially aware and also to be more disciplined, which is really a great thing.
Yeah, absolutely.
Did you struggle with that before you were a part of Sweep? Did you kind of have any areas of finances where you
like hit rock bottom?
Where you had a hard time, and then you kind of, with all of your education and knowledge that you put into act, and then you rose above?
Yeah, so so before Sweep, it was pretty much, like we would spend the money, and then once the credit card bill came, it was like, okay, we have to pay this off. If you don't have enough money, well, then that's fine. Take money from the savings, right? Mm-hmm. And after Sweep, it's like, no, we don't have to live like that. You don't have to always go take money from the savings. We have to be more disciplined. We have to be able to budget, right? We have to know where our money is going to. We can't just continue to keep spending and then taking money from savings to cover the shortage.
Oh my God. I feel like you're talking to me. You're like looking in my eyes. He's like,
Like, that's what we're
Janelle,
doing right
Guilty.
now.
from the
Guilty much,
for
Janelle?
those Amazon purchases, okay?
We'll talk more about that later.
I'll make sure to go to the bathroom on that part.
Oh, especially we already heard about
Guilty.
you. We just ratted you out. Oh my goodness. Okay, so then can you give our listeners your top 3 actionable tips that we can start now while we're in quarantine?
Sure. So number 1 is financial awareness. Okay, so financial awareness for not only moms, but the entire family. And what I mean by that is know how much money is coming in and how much money is going out. So it's not about how much money you have, it's how much money you have left over after you pay for all of your expenses. So when I say look at how much money is going out, so look at all your expenses. What are you paying monthly? Mortgage payment, car loans, credit card payments, and how much are you paying for living expenses, meaning groceries, dining out, utilities. So looking at all of that, right? And see so that you know how much do we really have left over at the end of the month. Are we negative? Because if we're negative, then yeah, we're going to the savings to go and cover the shortage, which is, not a good habit. And so it takes me to budgeting, right? So financial awareness has to do with budgeting because that way where everything is going, right? Budgeting meaning, okay, shopping in general, okay? When you go shopping for food or clothes, right? It's want versus need, right? You may want everything, but you certainly do not need everything, right?
Yeah.
And so, right, and I, when I talk about food, because it's all about saving money, right? And I'll share a story. So I'll go to Costco, right? And it's just me and my husband now, but I'll go to Costco and I'll go, hey, this bag of fried chicken is a good deal. I'm gonna go and make fried chicken. I'm gonna go make shoyu chicken, all kind of different teriyaki chicken, whatever. Right? I'm gonna plan my week, right? And so I buy the bag of chicken. I don't know, it's $25 in Hawaii because it has to go through the Pacific Ocean, so it's more than the mainland, right? And so then I bring the bag of chicken home, and then we get really busy. I work late, and then it's like, oh, we go eat out because I have no time to cook. And then how many weeks later, I'm looking in the freezer and there's freezer burns, and the chicken, I can't cook it anymore. So now I have to throw it out. So how did I save money? So my husband would go, okay, don't you think that it's better if we just go to the market every day and get what we need? Of course, I said no, because who has time to go to the market? Yeah, who has time to go to the market every day? But plan your week. Plan your week and only get the things that you're gonna use. That way, you're not wasting food, right? And the other thing, and I'll touch up on clothes shopping because we can all relate to that, right? Clothes shopping, right? And clothes shopping, and when you ask me again, and I'll take it back to what made me a believer in the Sweet program, is whenever I would go to Ross, because that's where we go here in Hawaii. Okay, Ross, I'll use Ross as an example. Whenever I'd go to Ross, I'd come out with all these items, right? And my husband would go, okay, can you tell me again how we're saving money when you walk out of that store with 10 items? Tell me how we're saving money.
Bags on bags.
Right. And so I'm like, hey, do you know how much this dress costs? I mean, it's like $100. It costs like 30 something bucks. And if I get, this and that, and yeah, this dress may not fit me now, but this is like motivation for me to lose weight, right? So it's like 5 pounds. I'm going to use it like in 3 months because it's my motivation, right? So I used to do that because I had a friend of mine that said, sister, if you're going to go to Ross and you see something you like, and if you don't buy it right away, you're going to be sorry because it'll be gone. Right? And so she would always say that. So whenever I go to Ross, I buy everything. And then I say, I'll return it. No worries, I'll return it. Well, let me tell you, I find dresses with tags like 1 year later, right? Still don't fit me because I never lost the extra 5 pounds, you know, so that was my thing. So then one day I was at Ross and all of a sudden I started looking at what I had and I'm like, do I really need this? And then I thought, okay, what am I doing? I'm like, what am I doing? If I don't buy it, I'm going to be like, sorry, right? And then I thought, okay, wait a minute. It's like, no, I don't need this. I don't need this. So believe it or not, I think I went back and forth like at least 10 times, returning it, picking back, going back to, you know, kind of, I was like, people thought, if anyone was watching me, they probably thought I was this crazy lady going back and forth, grabbing it, putting it back. But that was the start of, oh my God, financial awareness really works, right? Because then what I have a system down now, it's like, I'll go to Ross, I'll pick up everything that I want, pray to God, they all don't fit. But in the event that they do fit, yes, right? But in the event that they do fit, I'll be like, okay, where am I going to use this? Is it for work? Yeah, work, I will definitely use it. Oh, this is for weekend. Do I really need another pair of jeans? Do I really need shorts? Do I really need this top? So now I have the system down, you know, so that's being aware, right? Being aware of what you really need versus what you want. So that's the financial awareness part. And the second thing is education, right? Education. Now that you have the time, you're staying home, right? You have the time. There's so much like on the internet to, you know, to learn. And, you know, your listeners are, you know, stay-at-home moms because, you know, they have a husband that can, you know, have a great job, so they don't have to go to work. So that's wonderful. And you also mentioned to me that you have working moms and also single moms, right? So this, everything I'm sharing with you today, you know, goes for everybody, right? Education, educate yourself. It's time to look at the expenses, right? Look at the expenses, look at what you're paying. So do you have loans, right? Do you have a mortgage? You know, educate yourself on loans. You know, mortgage and other loans, they're amortized. That means that the payment is stretched out over years, sometimes as long as 30 years because it's a mortgage. You know, and look at that and see. So we are a monthly payment driven society. Besides asking how much something costs, it's how much can I afford to pay every month? And then in our mind, we say, okay, this is how much I can afford. So we put it in our mind and we think we're okay. But we never really, it's not common where you go, okay, I'm paying this much every month. After I pay off my loan, how much money would I have given away to the bank, right? How much money, how much interest would I have paid, right? That's not something that people think about. And we're saying be, you know, educate yourself, be aware, you know, it's, you know, if your husband is really busy working, you know, and, you know, sit down with your, you know, with your spouse, be on the same page. That way they're not shouldering it all by themselves, you know? And so, you know, pretty much get on the same page, you know, that way moms can help their husbands, you know, any way they can. So pretty much it's like, okay, how can we, you know, save money, right? Is there a better way? Are we going to pay this mortgage for 30 years? Are we okay with that? And if not, you know, is there a better way? Is there a way for me to put more money back into my pocket versus, you know, money coming out of my pocket, right? How can I pay these loans much faster? Because if you do that, then that means you're going to save money on interest, you know. And another way to educate yourself is, you know your credit score. Okay, we're not a credit repair company, and so I'm not going to go into so much, you know, too much detail, but know your credit score, because your credit score, you know, affects your borrowing power, right? You know, if you have a low score, you're not going to be able to, you know, get a loan. If you have, you know, a good score, anything above 700, right, then that means you pay less interest when you go to apply for a loan. And the third tip is be prepared. Okay, be prepared. Like we always, you know, ask our clients or potential clients, you know, it's being prepared. Are you prepared? I used to tell clients and potential clients before COVID-19. I used to say, and in Hawaii, I use hurricane as an example because that's what we have. And I would always ask, are you prepared, right? If, a hurricane hit, would you go to the store? Would you go to Costco the day of the hurricane? Because if you went to Costco the day of the hurricane, I'm pretty sure you're not going to have any water, right? Any water, right? And if you are not prepared, right? What will you do if you lose your job? That was always my thing. It's like, if you went to work tomorrow and they told you that you no longer have a job, what will you do? Because a lot of times when we're very comfortable in our daily life and our finances, we're not struggling, we don't think about being prepared because we're doing fine, right?
Yeah.
But anything can happen. I used to always say 9/11 affected the US, right? It affected all of us. And I would always say, heaven forbid, if anything like 9/11 ever happens, are you prepared? Well, as you ladies know, it's worse than 9/11, right?
Yeah.
This whole COVID-19 is affecting the world, right? So really, that's why when you talk about financial education, people is like, nah, I'm fine. I went to school. I know how to manage my money. But I can tell you that our clients are from people that are barely making it to multimillionaires. Everyone needs education and coaching. We don't have any cookie cutter education. We work with our clients based on their goals and their numbers. So being prepared, and stop and look, are there other ways, options for increasing my cash flow? And do I have an emergency reserve, right? So establish an emergency reserve. And that's what we teach is, be prepared, for anything that may happen.
Nice.
So I have a question. Okay. I know you had said to educate yourself on your finances and take a look at your costs and stuff like that. How often would you recommend doing that with your husband? Because we had a conversation with Roni, and her husband do it every couple of weeks or every week,
month,
Roni?
once a month,
Every month. Which is so cool because we don't talk about our finances that often. It's only like, hey, you're running up the card a little bit much.
Slow it down.
But as far as, and I don't know about you, Mary. Do you guys have like a monthly budget meeting or anything like that?
No, we don't.
So, Amy, how often would you recommend us wives talking to our husband, or even for our single moms, just rechecking your finances, going over it to make sure you're on track?
Yeah, so once a month is great. The reason why is because if you are charging a lot of your expenses, you have your monthly statement, right? So it's good to go over, your monthly expenses. So, if you're using, there's also app to keep track of your expenses, but definitely, at least once a month. Some people may do it, twice a month. And when I talk about financial awareness, and then I talked about budgeting, I just want to point out that doesn't mean that now you go and change your entire lifestyle, right? It's not like, oh my God, I listened to Amy and now she's saying we have to budget and we can't do anything. But, it's like, I can't go and buy this dress. No, so
no more Netflix,
no more Amazon,
Disney Plus, bye.
And what I forgot to mention is, the reward system, right? The reward system, because I can tell you that, I have been, meeting with clients for over 6 years. And let me tell you, like, sometimes, one spouse doesn't want to tell the other spouse this because then they're going to be like, get judged, or, it's like, well, he doesn't understand, I need this. And she doesn't understand, I need to go to play golf, or, that's my stress reliever. And it really only cost me $60, but after you factor in the, the food and everything, really it's $80, right? The drinks, everything. It's, so I say, you know what? Then implement a reward system. So meaning, and an allowance, right? Allowance meaning that you give each other allowance. Okay, if you give each other allowance, and I'm just using this as an example. Okay, so say you each give each other $200, let's say. So $200 a month. So that means for the allowance that you have, you can do whatever you want, right? And guilt-free, because that is the allowance that you have. So you don't have to go tell your husband, I'm using my allowance to go buy me new makeup or new dress or anything, because that's your allowance. And then as far as the reward system, well, if you think, well, what's $200 gonna buy me, right? Well, $200 ain't gonna buy me much. I want this bag, right? I want a bag, and that bag's gonna cost $1,000. Well, then you save up 5 months, to be able to buy what makes you happy. If the bag makes you happy, then reward yourself, save the money for like 5 months, right? Or if you want to go on a shopping spree, right? If you want to go on a shopping spree, then maybe you don't go shopping for 2 months, and now you go on a shopping spree. So, right? And it could be Amazon, right? Amazon, right? Or if you're going to go on a trip, right? So I have clients that will come to me and say, hey, what do we do? I mean, at our company, at Sweet, we have different strategies as well. I'm just talking about, traditional things that, ways that a lot may be able to relate with, relate to. And that's the allowance and the reward system. And then everybody's happy, because then you're not having to go, hey, what'd you spend that money for? Here, what's this on the credit card bill, right? Because
and it's expected too. They know
yes,
that you have that, instead of, what did you spend $200 on? They already know that's your allowance.
No questions
So that
asked.
works.
I'm like, how do you figure out that conversation? Like, hey, we're going to do an allowance system. You're going to give me this amount of money? Or do you guys, how do you factor that in? Do you kind of budget that based on the leftover amount that you have after all the costs?
Yes. So that's why it's important to be on the same page as your spouse, right? Because so, when you sit down with your spouse, you see how much money is coming in, how much money is going out, and then how much do we have left over. And I say it's really for the entire family, it's really for the entire family, because you want your family to know that, hey, money doesn't grow on trees. Just because mom and dad's working, that doesn't mean that you can go buy everything that you want. So, that's a good thing is to have the entire family be, and not to say that you're going to go tell your child every little thing, but at least they have an idea of how much things cost.
And I wanted to add too, because since we do that meeting, we kind of just started not too long ago, but I will say it helps like keep the stress down. Like you kind of know what's coming in, because like, especially if you're a stay-at-home mom and you don't really know all the time, like, how things are going. You just know like, okay, they're going to work, providing. But when you're able to sit down and go over that, you have a better idea of where you guys are, in case okay, we need to lay off of this, we need to save more in case something happens. So it does help a lot, the whole planning.
And there was a time when the babies were really young that I wasn't working and I wasn't doing any side hustles or anything. So I was completely out of the financial loop, and then I was like, okay, I want to help. Like, let me pay the bills so that I can kind of take a task off of him. But then there was too many hands in the cookie jar. Is that a saying? Like too many things going on at once, that I would pay something and he would get confused, and then vice versa. So then he was like, okay, how about you just step aside? And then something happened where a friend of mine, she lost her husband, and then she was in charge of all the finances by herself. And I was like, oh my gosh, if that were to ever happen, I would be completely lost, So it is good to still kind of know what's going on, even if you're not in charge of paying the bills, to know how to
on the same page.
And too, if you come up with those meetings and stuff, and you like talk about it, then they'll give you tasks to like start taking care of those finances, and kind of, you learn stuff as you go. So that's always good. We had a question for you, Amy. How can we prepare post-COVID?
Yes, so everything that I talked about, the things that that you can do, the action items that you can do while we're in quarantine, pretty much that is preparing for, post-COVID, right? That's preparing for post-COVID, preparing for anything really. But in addition to that, right? In addition to that, I want to like let everybody, kind of like say that if you're able to make your monthly payment on your loans, do so. Do so. Because right now, people are deferring their mortgage, they're deferring their, loan payments, their car payments. And the scary thing about that is if you're deferring, your monthly payments, what are you doing with your money? If you're accidentally spending them, right? If you're accidentally spending them, then what are you going to do when they're all due, right? What are you going to do? And that's why,
It's accidentally gone.
right? You're right. It's like, oh my God, I thought I put it in my savings, but it accidentally, grew legs and walked out into my checking and paid a credit card, right? I mean, so, that's the thing. It's like, it's great that the government is helping, Americans, with, a lot of the laws that they implemented, or, the relief, I should say, the relief, that they're giving to Americans, as far as helping, if you're having hardship, you don't have to pay, but I can tell you that seems like everyone's having hardship. I've been hearing people go, oh yeah, I don't need to make my mortgage payment. The bank is saying I don't need to. And I'm like, okay, but if you can, do it. You don't want to be all of a sudden not disciplined. And then, now it's going to be a domino effect, right? If you're not going to pay for your rent, your mortgage, your loans, and then what happens? What happens if you get furloughed? What happens if you do lose your job? How are you going to pay? You're going to be displaced, right? What are you going to do? So it's like, yeah, it's great that we have all these, the system in place where we get a relief if we can't, we're experiencing hardship. But if you're not experiencing hardship, please pay those monthly payments every month. Okay. And if you can, pay as much of your debts as possible. Try to pay as much of your debt, as possible, just in case, right? If you can, pay as much of your debt as possible.
So do you believe in attacking the bigger debt or the little debts first?
Yeah, so it all depends, right? So I say my company, we focus on increasing cash flow. We focus on increasing the cash flow. So it could be, most people will say it's, attacking the smaller debts, right? Because it's more manageable, right? But then we have to look at the whole picture, right? So yeah, if you only owe $500 and you're paying $200 a month, on a loan, right? Because loan is, set payments every month. So if you have $500 left on your car loan and you're paying $200, then it makes sense to just knock off pay off the $500 to free up the $200, right? Yeah. And the other thing is, finally, is do not rush to go spend your stimulus check.
Ooh,
right?
Say that again. I know 10,000 people, it's already gone.
All right. If you happen to receive a stimulus check, don't rush to spend it, right? Don't rush to spend it. Use it for an emergency, right? Use it, maybe use part of it to pay off a debt to increase your cash flow.
That was my question. I was going to say, like, would you advise, like, if people got a stimulus check and they're okay, and that's not extra money, but because I'm sure people, a lot of people are laid off and everything, but at least if you can get ahead and pay, if your credit card bill is $100 and you got an extra $100, pay $200, because it would help with the interest, right? It'll all at the end add up.
Correct. You can make extra payments. Like right now, student loans are, being deferred, and so even, I've seen on the news, and different financial planners talking about, hey, if you can pay your student loans, even if you don't need to pay, pay it. And it just goes to pay down the principal. You'll be able to pay it faster, right? So my company, we coach. I just want to, I want to put it out there that we teach financial education. We coach. We are not financial advisors. I don't have my series license, but what we do is we teach different strategies that we're either doing ourselves or teaching to our clients, and they're being implemented successfully. Our clients will always get to choose the strategy that they are most comfortable with. So we will never say you should do this or you should do that. We show you the numbers. We show our clients the numbers and they decide.
Oh, that's neat.
Amy, do you have any budgeting tips we can start implementing with our kids now, like the young kids or even the teenage kids?
You know how much time we got on this? Because it's almost like, it's almost like this could be like a whole, topic, right?
Episode in itself.
Yes. So number one is first and foremost, educate them about money, right? Same thing like what I just talked about earlier with adults, right? The wants versus the needs, right? So if we can educate them, as young as possible, that what do we need to live, right? We need housing, right? We need a home, okay? We need food and we need our clothes, right? So those are three most important things. Those are the needs, right? Because, you guys all have young children, but man, I remember my son, he's 26 going on 27, but I remember when he was young, it was like, but mommy, I need this, right? Everything is, I need this, which really means I want this, right? Everything is I want, right? And so pretty much, educate them about the needs, and wants, and teach them how to earn money, teach them to help you around the home, with doing chores, and then you can give them, an allowance, right?
So you believe in allowances for
Hey,
kids too?
Personally, that's what I did with our son. I believe in giving them an allowance because then they know what it feels like to earn, right? But it's not free allowance. And again, what I'm sharing is not for everybody, right? I'm sharing different strategies. Some parents, some moms may go, yeah, that doesn't work for me. No, not, what I'm talking about on your, throughout your show, it may not work for everybody. I'm just sharing experience, that I found helpful, and I see that my clients are implementing and they're finding, the strategies that I'm sharing are also helping them. And so when you give them chores to do and you give them an allowance, that is like they earned it, right? They earned money. So they know what it feels like to earn money. And then let them spend their money when they want something. I'll tell you a story about my son, okay? My son, when he was about 5 years old, he asked us, can we go out to dinner? And so we said, oh, well, Sammy, we don't have any money to go out to dinner. And he goes, you don't have any money? And we're like, no, we don't have any money. He goes, oh, it's okay. We can go to that machine. That machine, you press something, it goes dip, 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 and the money comes out. And we're like, what? He's like, yeah. And so we're like, okay, kid. I'm like, you know what? It's time for you to have your own savings. So I went to the credit union. I opened up, a child savings for him. And we put all the money that he earned in, from his piggy bank, right? Because maybe when you have little kids, maybe they just start off with piggy bank. It's like, okay, let's take all your money to the bank. And then a few weeks later, he's like, can we go out to dinner? And we're like, we don't have any money. And we're like, oh, but you do. Like, can you take out money from your savings and can you take us out to dinner? And he's like, never mind. We don't need to go out to dinner. Can we go to McDonald's instead? And we're like, like, no, if you pay.
That's so funny. I've had that happen with one of my sons too. Like, he wants us to spend our money, but then when he is asked to spend his savings, he's like, never mind.
Right? But you see, it makes them, think, right? It's like money doesn't grow on trees. And as parents, sometimes, we want to give a lot to, we all want to give as much as we can to our children.
Yeah.
But I see too often, with the clients that we have, the people that I talk to, that I see, we want to be able to give them what they need and maybe a little bit of what they want, but we can't enable our children. Because if you enable them very young, you will have problems when they're older. Because then you can't go, it's harder to go backward. it's harder to go backwards. You can't all of a sudden like spoil a child and then at 12 you go, we have no money, you can't go do this and do that. I mean, that's not fair to the child. So as early as possible to educate them about money and let them know what it feels like to earn money and let them spend their money, to buy things. Let them know how much things cost. Some parents may even go through the credit card bill and go, hey, this is what we're paying. This is what we're paying every month. That toy that you bought, this is how much it costs. So again, it may not work for everyone, but that's just one strategy. And then if they don't have money and they want to buy something, right, then you be the bank. You can be their lender. So you can say, okay, right? And then you charge them interest, right? you charge them interest. So you can be their lender. So that's, so again, it's financial awareness for everybody, even for young people.
Now I have a personal question based on that. Okay, so we were doing something similar where we were having the boys save money. And then it came to a time where they want to spend their money on ridiculous stuff like not video games, but like to earn points on video games and to bump up levels faster. They pay to bump up levels faster, like on Fortnite. And it drives me crazy. They're like, oh, it's only $20 for this next level if I get, whatever, or $10. And it was going crazy that me and my husband were like, no, you cannot spend your money on this stuff because you're not getting anything out of it. The next week is another $10 and $10. It was their money. Were we in the wrong for telling them no? It's a sticky situation. It's like, I want them to know that they can spend their money on things that they want to because it's theirs, they earned it. But when it's so ridiculous like that and they're just throwing it away, what do you say about that?
Well, again, I always say, hey, we're the parents, right? I mean, ultimately, we can put our foot down. I mean, that's why we're parents, right? I mean, there has to be some type of check and balance, right? So yes, if it's, so to me, if that were my child, right, the boys are mine, then, do they understand what they're doing, right? Do they understand, like, why do they want the extra points or what is it doing for them? So again, it's like talking to them and, asking the question, what is it doing for them? Right. And yeah, it's kind of hard because yes, you're kind of like, okay, I'm telling you, I'm telling you money. How to spend your money when it's your money. But again, you're still the parent, right? You're still the parent. You can still step in, right? I mean, that's our job as parents. We want to give our children freedom, but then if you see that it's really not the best choice, sit them down and really talk to them.
Or if it's addictive, or if they go out and buy all kinds of candy, you're not going to let them eat it all at one sitting because now they're going to get cavities. So yeah, okay.
Correct.
All right, reel it back
in. Yeah. We're still parents, right? We still have to do our job.
Yeah, exactly. So earlier you had mentioned for us to give ourselves an allowance per month. And we had a question from one of our listeners who has guilt spending money on herself. So that kind of goes hand in hand, right? The whole allowance thing.
Correct. Now your listener, did you say that your listener is a single mom or just in general having guilt trip?
She didn't say she was, I'm not
it's
sure.
A fiance. I know which one you're talking about. They just got engaged. So, and they have a toddler, I want to say the same age as Landon, which is probably like 4 or 5. And then they have a newborn that maybe should be 1 soon.
And she's having mom guilt spending money on herself versus
but they
spending it on
work.
the family.
Yeah.
Well, again, if they're talking to each other and, they're on the same page with their finances, then, and they both know how much money is coming in and how much money is going out, and they have leftover money to be able to give each other allowance, then she shouldn't feel bad, right? She shouldn't feel bad as long as they're on the same page. And again, the amount, it all depends, right? It's like, it can't be like, okay, I need $200 for what? Well, whatever I want, right? It's whatever I want to do. And then, so you can't say I need $200 and you only get $100 because you really don't do any, so it has to be a two-way street. right? It has to be a two-way street. And, you know, if you get $200, your husband, you know, gets $200, and then that's fine. You subtract that from the expenses. So you count it as an expense. So, you know, just like you would say $200 car payment. So you would, you know, if you're each giving each other $200 each, then that's $400 coming out of the money coming in. So count it as an expense.
Mm-hmm. So me and my husband were starting to do that. And then I'm like a saver. I love saving money because I want to get something for the house, you know? So instead of going on a shopping spree, I save it all so I could buy a new dining table or whatever. And because I save it, then something has to happen where we need a new washer and dryer, or we need something else. And then it's like, okay, well, this money that was in the savings for my stupid thing that I wanted to buy, you know, that has no importance, you know, based on the family, is needed towards something that does, like new tires for the car that's going to drive my kids to school, or new, you know, washer and dryer or whatever.
That's why you should hurry up and spend
it weighs heavy on me. Like, you know what, here's my money, take it, take my pennies that I've been saving. I'll start and that's where the guilt kicks in. Like, all of a sudden it's like, table or my kids, you know, whatever, car, or not car, but you know what I'm saying, like
the car to get them to school.
The necessities versus
the new
wants.
toilet, exactly.
Yeah.
And then it goes there, and then I freaking screw myself because I saved it.
But that's why you should have spent it when it was kidding. Don't listen to it.
You should have just got the table.
Well, see, that's why, like, you know, for, you know, what we teach, you know, our clients is being prepared. But not only, you don't necessarily have to use your savings. You know, that's another thing that we teach, is that you don't necessarily have to use your savings, you know, to go buy that unexpected expense. We have strategies where, you know, we teach our clients to, you know, be prepared, but not having to use your savings to go buy that unexpected item that you have to buy because it broke.
Okay, so then you guys have a strategy to like have your savings separate, and then like a plan B, like an emergency, like loan type of thing.
Well, yeah. So, I mean, it's utilizing bank products, right?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, like, you know, like a line of credit. So, you know, a line of credit is the tool that we teach our clients to utilize to pretty much pay off any debt. And that's also reserves. You know, you can use that as reserves. You know, some of our clients don't even have savings, because if they keep their money in the bank, what is it doing for you, right? How much are you getting in interest, right? Mm-hmm. So you could be getting 1% or less, not even 1%. And then meanwhile, you're paying a 15% credit card, right? So is your money working for you? However, again, these are just strategies. Some people need savings. If that's what makes you sleep at night, then have savings. I'm just saying that if you saved your money for you, right? And now you have to spend it for something that broke. I'm saying that we have strategies that we teach our clients to where you can still use your money, your savings, and then utilize another method to go buy the, you know, to replace the whatever broke. Yeah, so we teach different strategies.
So there's a way to act like that money she was putting aside was not even there, and then use the other money for the washer and dryer and still have her money.
Use other people's money to go buy the other thing. Yes.
No, I don't know if I'm allowed. I don't know if I'm allowed to ask you this, just because I know this is your business too, but do you believe in having multiple checking accounts for things like that? Like, should I have my own allowance kind of checking account, and then my husband have his own allowance kind of checking account? Or do you recommend us withdrawing it as cash and putting that aside, or
putting it under the mattress?
Well, so what we teach, really, like I said, there are different strategies for different people, but what we teach, you know, at Sweet is utilizing 100% of your income, basically making your money work for you, right? Mm-hmm. Making your money work for you. So that means that if you combined your income, that means that's all of the money working for you. versus having many different checking accounts. But again, it all depends, on the couple. I have clients who are like, you know what, I love the way, I like your system, but it's not going to work for us. Well, then, let's try it this way. So again, we teach based on our clients' goals, numbers, and what makes them sleep at night. That's the strategy that they're going to choose. I have clients that, have no problem to move money from their savings into a bank product, that's 6 figures. And then others won't even do that. It's because they will not be able to sleep at night if they take out their savings, let's just say. Yeah. So it all depends, on the person.
Yeah, and because me and my husband are so opposite, like there was this lady who gave a tip having like 7 different bank accounts, and like one having like for your needs, your wants, and then for his needs, his wants, and then for your house needs and wants, and that's how they were able to like budget everything, and they would kind of divide their paychecks. And to me, it made sense. I was like, I see it. Like, I understand, but my husband's like, that is just so many accounts.
Yeah, I'm with them.
See, so that's a lot of work, right? That's too much work. So what we teach is we teach simplification, right? How can we simplify this whole thing, right? So that's what we teach. But like I said, there are some people that's how they have to do it. They have to have different accounts. So if it works for them, that's fine, but that's really not what we teach, because that's too much work.
That reminds me of that Dave Ramsey thing where they do the envelopes, except instead of envelopes, it's the checking
bank account.
Yeah, that's what it reminds me of.
That's basically,
I'm raising my hand because I did the envelope before Sweet. I did the envelope. We had 4 different envelopes. We had dining. We had my, allowance. My husband had his allowance. But the thing with that is like, okay, we're taking money from the dining envelope. Right now, all of a sudden, it's gone. And someone goes, let's go eat out. It's like, okay, well, which envelope is it coming from? Mine or yours, right? So
rock, paper, scissors.
right? It's like, you want to go eat out, you take your money and you pay for dinner. So I mean, I tried that too. Some people are successful in doing it, and some people it just doesn't work for them.
So we had another question, Amy. How do you budget for your family after losing your job during COVID? Like where would someone start if that happened to them?
Yeah, so basically, it's unfortunate that people are, losing their jobs or hours are being cut, during this time. But losing your job. And that's why we say, come and see us before anything happens. That's what we always tell, people that are not our clients is, we have clients nationwide. We have over 3,000 clients in Hawaii and across the US. And it's like, come and see us before you lose your job. That's kind of been our message during this whole pandemic. But pretty much if you already lost your job, it's go back to the basics, right? Go back to the basics. Look at your current expenses, right? Look at your current expenses and see what is it that is really not needed, right? What is really not needed? Again, it goes to the want versus the, wants versus the needs, right? Your monthly subscriptions, right? That's, do you really need, everything? Do you need all your subscriptions? Because I don't know about you ladies, but, I catch myself sometimes too, right? All of a sudden I see the credit card bill and I have, I don't know, $16 to Audible, and I don't know, 30 something dollars to some Amazon thing, $14.99, 10, and then you're going, oh my God, I'm really paying $100. And then you go, oh yeah, but I really budgeted for all this, right? And I'm fine. But then now that you've lost your job, do you really need, all of your monthly subscriptions, right? And the other thing too is look at the services that you have, your cell phone bill, can you cut your cell phone bill? Is there a way to lower your cell phone bill? Do you need, your car insurance, right? If you're not even going anywhere now, do you need all that coverage? Again, these are just things that maybe, something for you to look at, right? And also when I say back to basic, we're home right now, right? We're home, we're stuck at home. That means we have to use more electricity, right? Because the TV's always on, the kids are on the computer, maybe it's hot where you're at, so you have the AC on. Then, it's like, so why not limit screen time? Why not spend more quality time with each other, with your children? Go out in the backyard, play games, board games. So it's pretty much, getting back to basic and, spending more quality time with our children and our spouse. And the other thing too is, cook more meals, so go easy on the delivery, right? Go easy on the takeout because, I always use pasta as an example because you can cook, a large serving of pasta and it's not going to cost you a lot of money, right? Mm-hmm. So, that's another way, right? And don't waste food, right? Yeah. Because I think that is like a big thing is that, when we have so much, sometimes, you don't really think about, oh yeah, really shouldn't waste food. But that's another thing that we can teach our children too, right? It's like, take only what you can eat, right? Sometimes our eyes, I used to be like that, our eyes are bigger than our stomach, right? So it's like, mm-hmm. The food's not going to run away, just take whatever you need. So it's basically, it's being aware, cook more meals at home, easy on the takeout. And then the other thing too is look at different sources of income, even if it's only temporary. And you could get a temporary job delivering groceries, delivering, takeout food. You could be the one delivering the takeout food, right? So, and then there's also jobs out there, right? They're still hiring, the grocery store, the hardware store, medical. There are other, places, companies that are still hiring. And as moms, people in the healthcare, doctors, nurses, they're having to work longer hours. So maybe they need childcare. Maybe that's something that moms can do, right? They can offer their childcare service. And the last thing is, and I say this to all my clients, I always ask, that's one of the first things I ask my clients is, do you have a hobby that could make you some money, right? Yeah. Right? Do you have a hobby that could make you some money? Like everyone's sewing face masks, right? So it's like, maybe that's something that you can do. You can, if you have a hobby, I have clients that, they make ukuleles, they do like centerpieces, and they paint, they do all these things. I'm like, hey, is there a way for you to make extra money, mm-hmm. with the hobby that you have? And then I have one more thing is that while a lot of the temp jobs that you're going to be doing, like delivery service and all of that, that takes you away from home, right? And so, another way that you could, make money is through affiliate program. So we have something like that at my company, and I'm sure other companies have the same thing too. But it's just pretty much you're working from home and you're talking about, our company, you're sharing, how we can help, family and your friends. And you're doing it at the comfort of your own home. You're not having to go drive to the grocery store, buy the groceries, and then drive across town and deliver it. So You're not having, because if you think about that, you're not only having to give up time, right? But it also costs you money, right? Mm-hmm. So if you made $30 for delivering groceries, how much of it was gas, and how much of it was, in your time, right? Mm-hmm. So childcare, if you had to have someone watch your child. So what is the return on your time? Your money, right? What is the return, of the time that you spent for the money that you made? Mm-hmm. And if you're just doing it from home, of course, you're not having to spend any time traveling, and you're not having to spend any of your own money, to pay for gas. So
and I didn't even know that companies were offering those services right now during this quarantine. That's pretty awesome.
Yeah.
A lot of places too.
A lot of places, yeah.
I was gonna add, when you said like get a hobby and stuff, that's a good idea. I know before we got into like combining finances and figuring out things, like I was always looking for ways to like make my own money because I'm kind of a spender. So one of the things that like brought me a lot of income, I would like have a lot of clothes that sometimes I don't get to wear. I would sell them. Like I would sell clothes with the tags on them to Poshmark and stuff, and I would make a lot of money from just selling clothes that I know I'm never gonna wear. And it's easy. They make the shipping label for you and everything. So that's how half of my money used to come in, was from selling clothes that I bought when I didn't have financial.
Yes.
So
That's a good idea, Roni. Yeah.
do they have to have tags on them, or they can
No,
be like
nope.
used clothes?
They can be
Like,
used clothes.
yeah.
Yeah, you just make a closet
Gently
on there.
used.
Yep.
Really?
Oh yeah. Yeah. So
That's
that
cool.
always helps.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Gina.
I thought you were
Think
going to
about
talk
doing it?
about how you would embellish like
Oh
the
yeah, that
shoes
too.
and stuff.
Always.
That's what
It's
I
always a way. It's always a way to make some money. It's
That's
always
so
a
true.
habit. That's so much great advice. Well, you have been so awesome giving us all these tips. Can you tell our listeners how they can find you?
Sure. So you can find us at sweepstrategies.com. We're also on Instagram or on Facebook, or you can just give our office a call at 808-533-4455.
Yay.
And we're also going to link her website in the show notes so that you can find her there too if you didn't remember the email address or the website.
The number.
You didn't
The
hear
phone
it,
number.
or you didn't catch it, or you just
Hear
want
that.
a link. It
We'll
will
link
be
it.
in the show notes for you. Thank you so much, Amy. We
Thank
love
Oh,
you,
having you
thank
on
you,
Amy.
here.
ladies. Thank you so much.
Awesome.
Thank
Such
you.
good
It was so
info.
much fun. It was
I
Yes,
so
took
much
my
are
fun
little
so
I
hanging
much.
took my little notes too. So I have to
out.
go here
I
later.
have a pen too.
Before we let you go, we'd love if you could take a screenshot of this episode and tag us on Instagram. Make sure to also tag our special guest, Amy, too, and show her some love. We will have her info linked below. We appreciate you tuning in with us, and we hope these tips help you. See y'all next week. Bye.
Bye.